All right, you guys hear me on this? All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to finally get started with the advanced session today. I apologize for the delay. We had some technical issues to deal with. Those of you who don't know me, again, Dr. Joseph Cronin, Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. It's a pleasure to be up here in front of you guys today. We are video recording this, hence why I have the little microphone dangling from my ear. It's not because I'm going to start taking phone calls or anything during the middle of my presentation. It's just this lovely way of picking up my voice. For the advanced session today, what we're going to do is we're going to cover a variety of topics. These topics are meant to be things that we didn't necessarily get a chance to cover in the intro session because we did only have an hour and a half for that. These are some issues or topics that I think might be useful for users of Qualtrics, some extra added features that might help you in designing and implementing your survey. What I'm going to focus on today is really a variety of topics. The first one is going to be dealing with how to do skip logic in the survey. I think skip logic is an important tool that will help you when designing your survey to do some more maybe advanced analytics with it as well. After I talk about skip logic, I'm going to talk about how to alter the look and feel of your survey a little bit as well. And after that, I'm going to spend some time on the panel discussion. Then Randy will take over and talk about triggers and talk about importing images as well. So without further delay, let's get started and talking about the skip logic. I went ahead and opened the survey we were working on last time, which is the September 17th survey, which is one we were working on last week at the previous intro session. If you remember the survey, just to refresh your mind with it, just a quick survey, just a few questions asking what type of car do they drive, their level of satisfaction with the car, their age, their marital status, their income, their highest level of education, and the number of children in their household. I want to get started with the skip logic today because skip logic is important and it allows you to do some sort of advanced programming within your survey without actually having to know any sort of programming language. Skip logic is good, useful if there are certain questions that you want certain individuals in your survey to skip over or not answer, or if there are certain questions that you feel are only applicable for a small subset of your survey population. Skip logic enables you to program the survey so that these individuals will in essence be programmed or skipped over these questions. And I'll show you how skip logic comes into play. For example, if we take a look at our survey, and the first question asks, what type of manufacturer of car do you drive? Well, for this question we have, as you see, the four that are up there. If we wanted to only look at certain characteristics of Toyota drivers, so, for example, if you take a look at the other questions in our survey, they ask us the satisfaction with their car, age, marital status, etc. If we only wanted to know the level of satisfaction among Toyota drivers, we could easily program that into our survey. I'm going to walk you through how to do the skip logic. How to do it is very easy. You can find it under the Advanced Question Options button, which is here on the right-hand side, the left-hand side of the survey in this box. The little pop-up icon appears that says Advanced Question Options. So if you click on that, you'll see the third item down on the list is something that says Add Skip Logic. If you turn that on, you'll see a little query box appears in the lower part of your question. Query box is shaded in this dark gray. And what it is, you're programming here a series of if-then statements into the program. So in this case, you're going to say that since we're only interested in Toyota drivers, we're going to program this so that if Toyota is not selected, we're going to skip them ahead a question. That is, they're not going to get the satisfaction question. Instead, they're going to get the subsequent series of questions. And only Toyota drivers will be asked about their level of satisfaction. So to do that, we come over here to our query box, and it says if Toyota, which is fine. And then the options up here are selected, not selected, displayed, not displayed. In this case, we're going to check the second one, which is not selected. And then we're going to tell them to skip ahead to what is your age. So they're going to skip the what is your satisfaction with your car question entirely. They say what is your age, and then select done. Now we see the query box remains, and it says that it shows us that what we've typed in here. If Toyota is not selected, then skip to what is your age. So anybody who doesn't select Toyota is going to skip straight to that question. Skip logic is relatively easy to do. It's just a series of if-then statements. So if you scroll down to the what is your age question, we will see a little qualifier appears here at the top. And then it shows us that if Toyota is, so it's showing us what the skip logic was that we implemented before. Now, the other safety net that we like to put in here whenever you do skip logic, in a case like this, it's relatively easy. We want to make sure that for this follow-up question that only people who drive Toyotas see the satisfaction question. So to do that is very easy. We're going to go ahead on this specific question and add display logic, telling the program that this question will only display for people who drive Toyotas. So we go back to the advanced question options, and this time we're going to choose the add display logic option. And it tells us for this question, only display it if the following condition is met. And here we get to define the question. So if the question, what type of car do you drive? Toyota is selected. Again, a series of if-then statements for us. And click Save. So then it's telling us that this question will only be displayed if the person drives a Toyota. So skip logic allows you to sort of create branches or pathways in your survey for different respondents. The upshot of it is that sometimes you have questions that obviously aren't applicable for all your survey users. And instead of doing 2 separate or 3 separate surveys, you can just do a series of skip logic or a series of branches for them. Just to make sure the final check, obviously when you do any sort of advanced feature like this, is to check to make sure that it's working. So we would do it in preview mode. We would click on the preview survey icon. And we would start here with what type of manufacturer of car do we drive. So if we select Toyota, we should see the follow-up question appear next. And it's please tell us your satisfaction with your car. Perfect. So if we click here to start over, let's this time select Ford. And it should skip us to straight, what is your age? So now we have proof that the skip logic or programming logic actually works. All right, any questions about doing skip logic? Miguel? There really is. The difference is this. The skip logic occurs at the root question. The display logic appears only at the question you want to have the certain condition displayed at. The reason why you don't really need to do both, the reason why I like to show people how to do both is in some cases, if you have a question that you didn't, for example, if you don't have a forced response on there, there's a possibility that somebody who didn't give an answer to your root question would get that follow-up question, even though when it might not be applicable for them. So that's why I have do the display logic as well as sort of like an extra step in there. Any other questions? Great. So we're in preview mode for a minute. Let me just again remind you, this is what the survey looks like when it's in preview mode. And this is anything below this bar here is what the survey will look like when it goes live. You'll see every survey has the Kane logo displayed proudly at the top, as well as our school colors. However, in some cases you might want or need to do a more scaled down version of the survey for whatever reason. If you're going to be distributing the survey electronically on for iPhone use or smartphone usage, you might want to get rid of the graphics. You might want to add your departmental logo to your survey as well. We'll show you how to do that in a minute. But what I want to show you now is sort of the look and feel of the survey and how you can alter it. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page here for a minute, one of the things I want to show you here is that the forward buttons. The default in Qualtrics always is to have the forward button, not necessarily the back button. I'm going to show you how to add the back button as well as alter that so you can put text in there to read as well. So let me close out of the preview mode and go back to our survey. And to do some of the things I just talked about, first we're going to start with the survey options button at the very top of the page, second one in from the left-hand side. If you click on survey options, the menu bar will appear, and the first option that you get up there, it appears, is the back button. It is, for some reason, Qualtrics does not have the back button appear automatically. You have to manually turn it on. I think it's useful to have the back button on whenever you do a survey to give respondents the choices to go back and maybe change their questions or change their answers. If they maybe thought of something in the meanwhile, or if they maybe misanswered a question, you give them the chance to go back and correct it. So we're going to enable the back button feature by just simply clicking it here, and we're going to select Save Changes. Next, we're going to go to the look and feel of the survey. This is where we're going to get to change some of the things I talked about earlier. First, when you come to the look and feel, gives you a layout, a sense for some of the basic changes you can make. So I talked about we now have enabled the back button. So now we can put text in there in terms of instructions for the respondent. It's always good, instead of having the arrows, to maybe have a little bit of text as well so that respondents can understand what it is exactly they are meant to do here. With a survey, the last thing you want to do with any sort of online survey is leave your respondents questioning anything. All the instructions, everything should be nice and easy for them to read and follow. So for example, the next button text, instead of having buttons there or a little arrow, we should probably put some text in there that reads along the lines of please click here to move forward, or please click here to continue. Likewise, for the back button, probably should put some text here as well to make it easy for them to understand as well. So I'm going to click here to go back. Next, the progress bar. The default in Qualtrics is not to have a progress bar. I would say if you're doing an online survey, it's in your best interest for your users to have a progress bar. The progress bar, I'm sure you've all seen them online. It's just a little bar that appears at the bottom of each page that shows the respondents basically how much they've done so far and how much more they have left to do. With the progress bar, you have basically three options. You have a version with text, a version without text, and what they call verbose text. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you what the verbose text looks like. And if we scroll down to the bottom here, we may see it turn on for us. Yep. The verbose text simply has the word survey completion above the top, and it has the little percentages off to the left-hand side and to the right-hand side, showing the respondent what percentage of the survey they have left. And you see here please click here to continue, the verbiage that we put in our next button appears. The next item is the questions per page. With Qualtrics, it's set up as follows. The default in Qualtrics is if you do not have any skip logic or any natural breaks in your survey, the program's default is to try to fit as many questions on a page as possible. So with this survey, for example, we have a page break. We have page breaks naturally in there because anytime you do some sort of skip logic, it'll insert a page break for you naturally. However, if you have a survey that has no skip logic or no display logic with it, there is no natural break, so the program will try to fit as many of those questions on a page as possible. Really, when it comes down, it's up to the individual survey designer to gauge whether or not they feel that they want to have as many questions on a page as possible or limit it to 1 to 2 questions per page. It really depends on the following factors. It depends on the number of questions you have in your survey, because obviously if you have a very long survey, you do not want to have respondents having to continually scroll down. Likewise, if you also have a very long survey, you don't want them to have to click forward every time after they answer a question, because that'll be annoying to them as well. So it's really in your best bet to find some sort of happy medium there. If you have a lot of questions, maybe try to limit to 3, and no natural breaks, try to limit it to maybe 3 or 4 questions per page, if at all. It's probably in your best interest not to overtax your participants in any way. Next, if we go down here to the look and feel menu, so that's everything under that's everything under the general category. Next, if you go under fonts, this allows you just to change the font of your question text and of your choice text as well. And it gives you a listing of, looks to be about maybe 12 different survey type, 12 different fonts to play with. And you can alter the font size you want it. They don't do it like you would in Word, font size either, by numbers. At this point, you can do font size via percentages. However, if you come down here and if you want to change only the specific question text, this is where you get to change it by point size. So if you just want to change the question text to Arial and make it Arial 14, you could do that. If you want to change the choice text to maybe Arial and do 10, you can do that as well. If you wanted to do the font size of both to 110, voila, you can do that as well. So you have choices of which to play with. Back to 100. Next is you can change the colors. You can change the text colors. Right now it's black. You can make those any sort of colors you want. You can change the choice text, question text, text entry, whatever you want to do. You can make any sort of alteration here in terms of the color scheme. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over each of these individually, but instead give you a sense or feel. You can sort of play with this one on your own. Last but not least, under the look and feel options, you have the advanced option. The advanced option allows you to change what appears in the header and footer. And this will become very useful in a second when I talk about if you wanted to alter if you wanted to import your own departmental logo in here. Each of the survey backgrounds we have here are what Qualtrics refers to as skins or backgrounds. They use the word sometimes interchangeably as your survey skin or your survey background. At Kane, we have one standard skin, which is just this background, the white background with the Kane logo at the top of each page. However, if you were to go over here on the left-hand side, if you wanted to, if you put on the Qualtrics menu, as Qualtrics users, you have access to all of their backgrounds and skins. So you see, they have, and to be honest with you, we have lost count over the years. I believe they have well over 35 to 40 different backgrounds or skins of which to play with. I'm just doing a basic scroll down here, and actually I think it froze up on it. There it goes. So they have over 30 different skins in which to play with. The one that we recommend, for example, a good one to use is the plain Jane. Let me just show you what that one looks like. If I click on that, what that is that's just simple black text on a white background. There's no logo there whatsoever. However, if you wanted to insert your own departmental logo, what you would need to do is get off of the Kane skin, choose the plain Jane from Qualtrics skin. Okay? And once you've chosen the plain Jane, here under header and or footer, you could insert the image file of your departmental logo. So you would come here to header and it says edit. And you would come up here to this menu bar at the top which says insert graphic, and you would either from your computer, you would upload a new graphic to your library, or you would have one previously stored. And Randy's going to show you in a few minutes how to import image files into your library. And you would select your logo. So for example, if we wanted to select the Kane Cougar to appear at the top of our page, we could do that. And click Save. So now the Kane Cougar will appear at the top of every single page for us. Once we've done with the look and feel, obviously select Save to save everything you've done. And now let's go into preview mode to check out our masterpiece. So you see here the Kane Cougar is proudly displayed, as well as that first question with the display bar. Click here to continue. We're going to select Toyota. And the level of satisfaction with our car, our age, marital status, income, highest level of education, all the way down to number of children. And you see click here to go back, click here to move forward. And we're going to answer this question. and it shows us that we've completed the survey. All right, any questions about the look and feel? How to change the look and feel. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to segue into, we'll close out of this. I'm going to spend a few minutes showing you guys, showing you guys the panel function on Qualtrics and how that works. And walk you through we're actually going to do a panel from scratch with an example we have. I talked about this when we talked about distributing the survey at the previous intro session. There are several different ways to distribute the survey. And I think the best way, the one that gets the most use out of the program, from my opinion, is doing the panel function. The panel function allows you, what it does is we will import into the system a series of names and email addresses. From there, what it's going to do for every single email address that we import in, it's going to generate a unique URL associated with that email address. So every email address gets its own URL to take the survey. The system is then able to the program is then able to keep track of who has completed this questionnaire, who has stopped midway, who hasn't started it yet. And how it does that is through each email address you enter in there has its own unique URL, its own unique survey ID. You're able then to keep track of who your respondents are. This is very good if you're doing departmental follow-up, if you want to follow up with alumni, if you want to do surveys. With this, you're allowed to develop and write you're able to develop and write invitations to your survey that are also personable. You can customize them. You can send reminders, and you can also send thank yous. So I think it's a pretty useful tool. It does take a little bit. There are quite a few steps to go through that we're going to walk you through this afternoon. Randy we have a handout prepared that we're going to pass out that'll also show you how to complete a panel. The first thing we're going to start is we're actually not going to go into the Qualtrics program yet. We're going to go instead to a Microsoft Word spreadsheet that I have set up. And you see under this spreadsheet we have 3 columns. Columns are last name, first name, and email. It's a simple Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to save this as a CSV file, comma separated values or also comma delimited, and we're going to import that into Qualtrics. The thing to know about panels is that you have to have at least these 3 columns in there in order for this to work. Now the trick is though, it's only really one column that's the utmost important, and that is that email column. Without the emails, you're not going to do anything. If you have a list of email addresses and some first names and last names, you'll still be able to do this. You might not be able to customize or personalize your email messages, but you'll still be able to do, for the most part, what it is that you want to do. All right, so we have the Excel spreadsheet. We're going to go ahead and we're going to save it as a CSV file. I'm going to go to Excel options. That's not it. Save as other format. And we're going to come here as comma delimited, CSV, comma delimited. And we're going to go ahead and title this panel today's date 9/24. All right, and it shows here the Excel little pop-up message appears, may contain features that are not compatible. That's fine. Select yes. And now we're all ready to go. So we're going to go back to Qualtrics. And to upload your panel, what you're going to start with is you're going to go to your Panels tab here. And you're going to scroll down from it. You see here all the way over at the right-hand side, the little green tab that says Create New Panel. We're going to click on that. And it's going to give us and it's going to ask us for our panel name. So we're going to go ahead and name it September 24th. September 24th panel. And where it says destination category, don't worry about that for now. And just click on Create. So you come here to your panel page, and it says here September 24th, how would you like to add members to your panel? So you have 3 options. You can easily, the first option here on all the way over to the left, add panel members. You can just type them in directly into the system. You already have an Excel spreadsheet. That's not what we're going to do today. But if you had a small list, you could create a new panel from scratch without doing any exporting. But it's probably in your best interest if you have, say, more than 10 or 15 to do an Excel spreadsheet. It'll just save you time. We're going to go ahead and do the middle one, import from a file, but also want to talk briefly about the import from a survey option. If you're creating a panel off of a survey, based off a survey you already have data for inside Qualtrics, as long as you've captured their first name, last name, and email address, you can go into that survey and pull out that information and create a new panel. If you wanted to do some sort of follow-up, some sort of other work on it, you could do that. The option is there, and that's one of the good things about Qualtrics is that you can, once you do a survey, it's always in the system, and you can pull out information from it for other surveys or other questionnaires later on, and you can even take your respondents and build a panel list off of that. Next, you can also import from a file, which is the one we're going to do. We're going to click on to continue, and next we're going to specify exactly what file we're going to pull it in from, like you would any Microsoft-based document. So we're going to browse for it, and we're going to find it on our little flash drive here. That's not the one. Panel sample 924. And select open, and voila. Okay, so go ahead. Since we only had four respondents in this panel, it was quick. Literally just a millisecond to do it. If you have more than obviously 4, it's going to take you quite a long time to do this. But you see it loads in here. It loads in the 3 fields that we've created: the last name, first name, and email address. We want to make sure that everything looks good. If something didn't look good here, it would be marked in red at the top here, and you would have to sort of fish out, okay, well, what's going on here? Maybe you might have had this column mislabeled, or you might have had something else. For a while there, Qualtrics used to have to put the phrase email addresses to label your column. Now, for some reason, it doesn't require that. You can just have the word email there. So once you think everything looks good, there's no red marks, no error messages popping up, select import, and you'll find this just takes a millisecond to do. And we go up to the top here, and it says imports in progress. It gives us a listing here of all the previous panel imports that we've worked on. And we have a couple going back here a couple years now. But if we go ahead and click on this top one, this is our latest one, September 24th panel import. Click here to view your panel. And it shows us that 4 panel members were imported successfully. And we just click here to view our updated panel. And voila, it shows the four email addresses correspond to the 4 respondents, and that's who our panel is. So we're all good to go. So this panel is imported, it's ready to go. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to tell the program to pull this panel out and distribute the survey to these individuals. So we're going to leave the panel function, and we're going to go on to the Distribute Survey tab. So we see here our anonymous survey link that we worked on last time. Up at the top of the page, there's an icon, looks like an open envelope, it says Email Survey. That's where we're going to go next. So if you click on Email Survey, it's going to take you to the page where this is where we basically get to write our message and program how we want the survey to be sent out. So the first option here is 2. This is where we select the panel. And we're going to go to our library for this account, and we're going to find our panel. So here we go, September 24th panel. This is the one we want. As you see, we've done quite a few examples of this, so there are quite a few panels up here for this account. We want September 24th panel, and we're going to go ahead and select the entire panel. If you had a larger panel, if you wanted to do a subset, what you could do is you could go under Select Panel Sample, select a new sample, and select out those individuals that you wanted to serve as this sort of sub-panel or subset for you. But we're going to go ahead and select the entire panel for this one. Next, we're going to go ahead and select when we want it to go out. The default in Qualtrics is always to send it out within 1 hour. The reason for that is they want to make sure that people have ample time to check it, to make sure that everything looks good, that there are no major problems, no major issues. We always tell people to leave that default as is, but if you wanted to stretch it out or create some other period of time, you could do that by just clicking on here, and you could send it out immediately. You could send it out 1 hour, which is the default, up to 8 hours, a day, 3 days, or you can customize it. You can do 28, 30 days, whatever. However, what sort of, you can actually set the specific time in which you want it to go out. So if you wanted the panel to go out in, let's say, let's have it go out on October 31st. Let's do 12:01 a.m. So 12:01 a.m. on October 31st, this panel is going to go out. Next, we're going to choose the message, and this is very important. Anything that appears in here, you should not change. Don't change anything. Don't change the reply to email. Don't change the name. Nothing. Leave it all as there. It loads it in automatically for you from Qualtrics. You can obviously put something in the subject field. In fact, it is a requirement. If you don't put something in the subject field, you will get an error message. So we're going to put September 24th test. Next, you come down here to you have options. This is where you're going to write the actual text of the message. Now, if you had a previous message that you used in a past distribution, you can load in that as well under the Load Save Message option. If you click on that, you'll see it'll give you access to your library, and pretty much every single message that you've ever worked on before, ever used for the panel function, it will send out for you. Because what it does is when I start to type in there, before we can send it out, it's going to force my hand to save it. And I'm going to have to save it under a name so that later on, if I wanted to go back and use that message again, I could easily just load it in second time. But we're actually going to type our own message this time. All right. So here, anything that appears in this box, to follow the link, copy and paste, or the link to opt out, you cannot remove any of those. If you remove any of those, your survey will not work. So the link, what it does is for each respondent, it's going to generate the unique URL and fill that in there. And it's going to put the same URL in there for people to copy and paste into their web browser. And if they wanted to follow the link to opt out of future emails, that has to appear in there as well. So this we're going to do hello. And then what I want to show you real quick is how you can send out a customized email. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here, leave our cursor right here, but then we're going to go to Insert Pipe Text for a minute. If you click on Insert Pipe Text, this is where it allows you to insert text from anywhere. You can insert text from a previous survey question, embed a data field, survey links, etc. But we're going to go down to the third to last option here, which is Panel Field. And we're going to go ahead and insert the recipient's first name. And then we're going to add a comma. So hello, and it's going to automatically fill in the person's first name for us. And then we're going to go type our brief message. Below you will see to a survey just a brief message just saying, hey, you see some links below, please click them to take my survey. Alright, so before we're ready to move on, go back up to the top here and select Save. And we're going to type this in as September 24th panel message. And voila. Alright, so we're all ready to go. To scroll down to the very bottom here, we have two options here. We can send a test email or schedule mailing. Test email is a good option to do. What you do in a text email is just put your email address in there, and it'll send you a copy of what the survey will look like when it goes live. So that you will see what the email message looks like, how the links work, everything. You can do a final check of it yourself. After you've done that, after you're satisfied with everything, click on Schedule Mailing. And it tells us right now, we come here to this page, and it gives us the little readout table. First table says status. It says, right now it's got a little gray circle on it. Email is scheduled to be sent. So if we go under date, it's going to be sent on October 31st at 12:01 a.m. So in 36 days, 9 hours, and 9 minutes. Next is the recipient. That is, who are going to be the recipients of this email? It's everyone coming from the September 24th panel. The title of the email, September 24th test, goes under subject. The date, which I showed you earlier, it lists out the emails failed. So you know after you distribute your survey how many emails failed. What it doesn't tell you is which emails failed, unfortunately. You're going to have to do a little bit of legwork on that yourself. It tells you the email sent, then the survey started, and the survey's finished. Now, if you wanted to schedule reminders and thank yous, you can do that as well. If you go over here under the Actions column, if you pull down that menu, you'll see you have a bunch of different options. Second one up from the bottom is the Send Reminder or Thank You. So you have a choice here. You can specify which one you want to do. You can do both, but you have to do them individually, one at a time. So you want to send a reminder, and reminders will only be sent to those who have not yet taken the survey. So reminders are sent to those people who either haven't clicked on the link yet or haven't completed the survey. They can have clicked on the link, but yet maybe stopped midway through. And you can specify when you want the reminders to go out. So obviously, we're going to want the reminders to go out. We're going to customize it, and we're going to have it go out on November. Let's do November 9th at 12:01 a.m. And next, you scroll down here, and it just gives you a, just type in something. Here you can customize. We're going to do the pipe text as well. Panel field. Let's do recipient first name again, comma. Remember to take my survey. Select save, and we'll do 24th reminder. Voila. And then select update. So now we come over here, we see that reminder has been scheduled to be sent on November the 9th. And the same thing applies for the thank you. It's the same sort of principle, select thank you, and the same thing. With the reminder, again, it had that text at the bottom. Don't remove that text. Keep that text in there. That's the respondent's unique email. Now, if you do all the test and preview and you realize before it goes out that, there's something else I need to have in this survey, or I messed up at the panel, I chose the wrong panel. If you want to delete your distribution and cancel it before it goes out, it's very easy to do that. Again, under Actions, there's the delete distribution icon. Select that. You'll get the octung or the warning that appears that says, are you sure you want to stop the mailing to be sent on October 31st? And we're going to select delete. And that's it. It's all gone. All right. Any questions about the panel function and how it works? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are ways you could do it on your end. You mean you want the system to do it automatically, or? Yeah, you could set up separate panels for those. If you have that information on separate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd probably be your best interest. Or you could, if you want to stick around, we could probably set up some sort of qualifier or something in your survey, so that when you look at the results, you get the results of only people who are from, Camden County, let's say, and you could import that information and then do another qualify people who are from Monmouth County and import only those names, etc. Yep. You're welcome. I'm going to turn the mic and floor over to Randall. He's going to
Okay, good to go. All right, do this. Okay then. Hopefully everyone can see and hear. All right, I'm going to jump back and I'm going to, I guess I should say, review and expand upon what Joe was talking about earlier. So let's go back to Edit Survey and the look and feel. And Joe brought in the cougar here as a header, and he inserted it in here. Now with the header, it's going to show, as Joe mentioned, on every page you're going to see the same thing, and it's pretty much the same with the footer. So let's get out of here now. Let's go back. Let's say we want to add a question and actually a graphic that's only going to appear at the top of the first page, similar to the cane skin. So first of all, we're going to change this to graphic, and then we're going to select a graphic. And as you may have noticed before, there's a library set up for the account. Most of you, if you're new to using Qualtrics, there won't be anything in your library. These, and you can see there's duplication because we do this demonstration every time we give this. There are a lot of them in there. So we're going to go to upload a new graphic. We're going to treat it like there's none in there. And while I'm here, there is a selection, use a graphic from the web. Typically we recommend against this. If, for instance, the website goes down that you're pulling it from, or if the people decide to take that image off their website, and of course also there's the copyright issue. You're kind of using it without their permission if you just link to it. So we typically advise against that. So we're going to browse. We have a USB drive in here. I don't know if there's anything original in here, but we'll just pick one. All right, and it's a bit large. So you can use these boxes to make it whatever size you wish. I'm going to make it pretty small. And it will update the preview to correspond. And also it keeps the proportions. You see how this was 450, it altered it to 200 to make it match up. All right, and then we'll click Save. And it puts it right in there. But it will also store it to the library at the same time. And if I recall correctly, you can't edit this the same way that Joe did, where he put it in the center. At least not at this time. There used to be a way, but it seems to be gone. All right, so we'll move on. So that's basically, this is only going to show at the top of your first page. And we still have the cougar because that's a header, that's at every page. If we go on to the next page, cougar. All right, made a liar out of me. Oh, I know why. All right, pardon me. I have to answer this question. All right, now, no snow picture. All right, move on. Go back. Okay, so next we're going to go with forms. We'll just do a quick form question at the bottom here. Add, and we're going to go to text entry. And that brings up the form option over here on the right-hand side. And by default, just like with the multiple choice, it's 3 answers. And they're kind of generic. I don't know. We usually put something like, please complete the following or something like that. And then we're going to go with something pretty standard, name, address. And with something this standard, it kind of senses, Qualtrics senses what you're doing and it completes it. You can always delete rows that you don't think you need, or say if you need, there's no email address, if you need email address, and this is country, if you need county, if you want to have information to sort. I think that's kind of what Joe is implying with the qualifier. If one of your questions asks them what county it is, you'll be able to do a filter on your results to separate that. All right, so let's just go with this for now. While we're within each thing, we can change the size of the boxes two ways. We can click here, we can go short, medium, long, essay, and we can also, let's go with state. You can also put in validation where it has to be a valid US state for the state field. Same thing with postal code. And they're expanding. And early on it was only US postal code. Now, what do they have? 5 different postal codes that you can put in there depending on what country you're in. We'll go back to preview mode. And it looks pretty much the same. And the other way you can change the size is just by grabbing this and dragging it. And it gives you the the pixel dimensions for those of you that are up on HTML and web. You know, it gives you the exact display size. And now we have this little red icon here that shows that at least some of the fields have validation. So they have to put in that proper format. With the postal code, I think it's just the 5-digit. I don't think it does the +4. And the US state, I think it's the 2-letter standard abbreviation is what it's looking for. All right, one big benefit of forms, and I'm going to switch to a Google site, and I apologize, it's still kind of under construction. I just kind of put together quickly. Now there are links here. This one you've probably seen. This is the registration for the workshops. This is one way that Center for Professional Development has used forms. Most of our workshops, if not all, we use a similar form to register for the workshop. And it all goes into a spreadsheet which we can then sort and or filter so we know who's coming to which one. And that's where we pull the information that we put on the sign-in sheet. So it gives us a way to keep track and also a way to generate our sign-in sheets. And if I go back here, this other link is for the 2014 Assessment Institute in January. They're also using Qualtrics. And this is a little bit more involved. Off-campus people, they're asking them to pay. Actually, I guess they're requiring them to pay. And this is linked to PayPal. You may have seen this yellow button before. That redirects them to PayPal. If you click on the click here, it takes them to a Qualtrics registration form. Very much the same. And all the data is kind of compiled behind the scenes. And you know, it's asking them what kind of meals they might want, what their role is at the university, et cetera, et cetera. So, is that me? Sorry. All right. And do I have? No, I don't think I have another example of a form right now. Let's go back. I had hoped to put up an embedded form, but I don't think it's going to work too well. Yeah. Well, you get an idea. This was an embedded form. It's the Google site is not interpreting the HTML as well as I would have liked. But this form is actually embedded onto another website rather than just being a link like those first two I showed you. To be honest, I just kind of copied and pasted the HTML from another site into this to try to incorporate it. And part of it is the images are missing and things like that. But I think you get some sense. Let me move over here so I can scroll of what it looks like. This is for a conference we did here, I don't know, about 5 years ago, something like that. But you can see again, it's the name, address, city, state, zip, phone, etc. And all this, when they click to submit, it would go collect all their information and put it into the Qualtrics database. but it all puts it into a web page that gives the appearance, it blends in with the other pages that had to do with the conference, the other information about the conference. All right. And the last thing I'll talk about today, let's jump back to here. When you're doing a form, a lot of times, and this came to light with our workshop registrations, a lot of people would email us back and say, I'm not sure if I'm registered, and someone would re-register to try to confirm that they were registered. So we inquired with Qualtrics and did some experimenting our own, and we came up with 2 different ways that you could sort of give them instant gratification or relatively instant. And I put together a handout for today. And please let me know if you notice any mistakes, because actually I took 2 separate handouts and merged them this morning to make it a little easier on you, so you didn't have too much paper. All right, now let me go back to the top here. The first one is relatively easy. You go to survey options, and we go down to survey termination by the little thank you post-it icon, and it's the second bullet, and it's not going to work. Redirect to a single response report. And basically what that does is it gives them, how can I put this? Basically it gives them their own entries. The results for that specific respondent are displayed back up via the web after they click submit. So it kind of gives them a quick rehash of all their entries, and it kind of acts as a confirmation of what they did. And let's see if we can get that to work. So let's go to preview. All right, we'll answer this. And I'm not going to bother filling that out right now. Okay. So you can see it gives, I think all of you were here for the intro, if not last week in the past, at a previous one. But it gives the same kind of results that you saw when you look at the report. But it's only for the specific individual that had just completed the form. But it seems to comfort people that they have all their information, especially if you ask them their name, etc. They'll see that displayed. The other method is probably a little bit better. Let me close this and close this. It's a little bit more involved, and it might be best if you read over it again on your own, but I'll try to whip through it quickly here. If you go to advanced options, when you have your survey open, triggers, email triggers. All right, and by default, the trigger is going to go to the email address assigned to your account or that you used when you set up the account. Primarily, in the beginning, we were using this to, say, with the Qualtrics registrations, and we also do it when people sign up for Qualtrics. It sends us an email, Joe and myself, Maria, the administrators, so we know when someone else has signed up. So we can kind of at least keep a tally in our head or know when to check on the survey. But you can also customize this. And now, here we go. I don't recall this add a condition, Joe. All right, so we'll go to add another trigger. All right. And you can use this pipe text, and we don't have a name entered. All right. All right. I'm going to have to wing this. Maybe you'll have to follow along in the handout here, since I don't have any information in the field. All right. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to click on this icon, and Joe mentioned it, the pipe text, which is this little thing that looks like an A in brackets. So if you click on that, I believe we're going to use email. All right, so it's going to be recipient email. Well, that looks different than what I have in my handout. All right, if you, let me put it this way. If you seriously intend on using this, why don't you contact me either after today or in the future, and we'll make sure this works right. I probably should have verified it since they change everything so frequently that it matched what my handout said. But basically, this code should match up to the email field where your respondent put in their own email. So what it's going to do, and then as you look in the handout, you're going to need to copy this. And go back up. Add another trigger. And you're going to put that, if you want it to go to yourself, you leave that in there, or you paste it in that code. So what this will do is when it's finished, the trigger will cause it to go back into the survey, look at the field for that individual's email, copy and paste it automatically into the email address, send them an email. And in my example on the third page, I have some content in there. You can pretty much put whatever you wish in there. Something to indicate, okay, we've received your registration, et cetera, et cetera. And then it will give them both a link to that single response report that I showed just a short time ago, and it will also recreate that information within the body of the email. So they'll be able to get that information two different ways. They can read it right out of the body of the email, or they can click on the link and it will take them to that exact single response report with the blue bars and all that information. And if you go to the last page, kind of gives you a visual representation of what I was just mentioning. That's a screenshot of the email that the person would receive. Okay, any questions on this? I covered things maybe a little quickly here, but that's pretty much the content that I had to present today. And like I said, if you intend on using this, I'll try to fine-tune it before the next advanced session. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, I believe you all know how to get in touch with me, where I sit, my email, etc. You can get in touch with me, and we'll make sure that everything works as I've entered into this form. I apologize for not having a time to verify everything before I got up here. Okay. Anything else? Well, I guess some people click through it so quickly. You mean the little thing at the end where it just says thank you for completing the survey, right? Right, and I think we've covered that in other sessions. Did we cover that in intro last week? Yeah, where you can actually customize that thank you message, to whatever. Thank you for your interest in the computer science program at Kane, or something, whatever you want. I think in that other instance with the form, I think we had it customized because that was prior to us discovering these methods that I just outlined. We just said thank you for your interest in the conference. If this page is displayed, your registration has been received, or something to that effect. But I think it's partly that people just kind of click past it so quickly that it doesn't sink into their mind, so to speak. They don't really see it. Whereas the other thing, it fills the whole screen, and boom, it's there. And this puts an email in their inbox, I think typically within a few hours, probably faster than that, so that they have something that they can actually save and refer back to. Oh yeah, I did do that. Because I personally, running around in 20 different responsibilities that I have, sometimes my email is the thing that kind of gets me back, kind of retains that timeline. All right. I guess if there aren't any questions, Joe, did you have anything else? Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you. All right.